Hello beautiful starseeds, and welcome back to another video on Starseed Academy. My name is Jenny. So today we're going to be jumping all into the full moon eclipse season in general, the Mercury Retrograde, Schumann Spikes, and more. A full energy report for you about the energies that are happening, that have been going on for the last 2 weeks and will continue for at least 2 more weeks going. So just a deeper understanding and look into all of that. Now, before we jump into today's video, I just want to remind you to like this video, give it a thumbs up, share this video, and then make sure that you're subscribed for new videos on this channel every single Sunday. I also want to give a shout out to the Starseed Academy membership group. We have an incredible month of May coming up where all of our events are going to be around the theme of ancient civilizations. So if you feel connected in your heart to ancient Egypt, Atlantis, Lemuria, this is the month to finally join the Starseed Academy membership. We are going to be going deep into the fall of the golden eras, how these those 3 civilizations that I mentioned are all connected, how they might be connected to you or even to today's day and age. We're going to be doing a journey to Lemuria, into this amazing sacred cave of record-keeping crystals. And then we're going to be finishing the month out with a group reading, which is going to be Ancient Civilizations and You. So a peek into a lifetime that you had during one or more of those times. So this is a really potent month to join. I'm really feeling this power wanting to come through, this energy really wanting to come through for May. So go and check that out in the link in the description of this video and sign up for the Starseed Academy membership. We're getting started with these events this week. So you're seeing this on Sunday. Join right away because I'm pretty sure the first event is on Thursday. Okay, so I think it's Thursday, May 4th. Yeah, May 4th. So you're definitely going to want to be signed up for that. Okay, and then one other thing quickly to mention is I do a free weekly energy report. It's an email that comes to your inbox every single Monday. I'm actually going to be summarizing this video and kind of making it like an easy layout to read and understand, and making this the report for this Monday. I mean, we've had some really powerful energy reports going out. It is always letting you know kind of what's going on in the energetic atmosphere, or what's maybe going on with a theme that's wanting to come through. It's very much geared to star seeds and the awakening consciousness on this planet, and I think you'll really love it. So if you're not already signed up for those energy reports, please make sure that you also head to the description in the link of this video and get signed up right away. Okay. So I think we're ready to dive into today's video. So we're going to be talking first about, actually we're going to be talking about things in order. So right now I have some notes, so I might be looking down a little bit. So right now we're about to experience the grand finale of the spring eclipse season. There is another eclipse season coming to us in the fall. I believe it's in August when it starts. So we'll have new energy and new information for that. But we're coming to the grand finale of this spring eclipse season with a lingering side of retrograde and continued Schumann Resonance Spikes. So we're going to talk all about that, starting with the beginning of the eclipse season. So let's give you just some hard details to start. So some of these harder details are that the dates, April 19th is when the eclipse season began. It began with a new moon, rare hybrid solar eclipse, and we're going to be talking about what that is. What's a rare hybrid solar eclipse? And then Mercury Retrograde started on April 21st, and it will continue until May 14th. So another 2 weeks or so of retrograde. So we're about halfway through retrograde. And then the May 5th, which is this Friday, eclipse season technically ends with a full moon Penumbral Lunar Eclipse. Okay, so that'll be the final eclipse to end that season. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the beginning phase of this eclipse. So what you've been experiencing from probably for the last 2 weeks. Okay, so just to give you a clear understanding of that. So the beginning of this eclipse, or the first half of the eclipse, which was closer to this new moon and the rare hybrid solar eclipse, the energies were around bringing forward old patterns for you to revisit, so that you could see how you used to live and who you used to be. It was like a deja vu back into our grimy old selves, and it was not pleasant. We were being shown the remnants of our toxic behavior and patterns that were still lurking within, and it felt extremely uncomfortable to revisit this version of ourselves, but it also was showing us how far we've come. So a lot of these patterns that were revealed were around self-worth, and they pretty much included any unhealthy thinking patterns around our worth. Okay, so think about, I'm going to list a couple of signs now that you might have been experiencing over the last 2 weeks, and let me know if you experienced any of these. I'll just set that here. Okay, so over the last 2 weeks, have you struggled with heightened stress, worry, and anxiety in your mind and in your body? And even though you logically know everything is fine, it's still being kicked up inside of you. Have you also felt old fears coming back about the future, even worrying that you've gone backwards, and like wondering if you're ever truly going to be happy? Like just with the worry around, am I ever going to get there? Is life ever going to be good to me? What does it mean to be happy? How can I get to that place? Okay, so the next one is, have you heard yourself allowing victim mentality to creep back into your thinking, or even back into your communication with others? That's a really big way that we give our power away. And that's, we all have our own signs of how we know that we're kind of like on a downward spiral. For me, I always hear myself say the word overwhelmed. Like I'll tell someone that I'm overwhelmed, or many people actually. And whenever I start saying the word overwhelmed, I know I'm like spiraling downwards. And to me, that can be a little bit of victim mentality of sinking below a higher perspective on the way that things are. So how does that look for you? How do you allow victim mentality back in? Do you start telling old stories again to people about how things are so hard for you, or how you can't, or how it's impossible? Just really be on the lookout for that. I've said this before, but I'll just mention it again quickly, that victim mentality is like the heaviest, strongest sleeping pill that you can take. People put themselves right back to sleep with that. Victim mentality is the antithesis of like being a sovereign creator. It's like the opposite of that and the enemy of that. And so if you're in victim mentality, you're not taking responsibility for your life and what continues to show up in your life. And victim mentality is toxic. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Have you also been feeling like you've needed extra downtime and found yourself wanting to escape or numb out through things like TV, shopping, food, or other substances and habits? Just feeling yourself being like, nope, I'm out, checking out in a way. And then the last one is, have you been feeling over the last 2 weeks extra emotional, overwhelmed, there's that word, scared, or sad? Like just feeling yourself low. So it's important for you to be the sacred witness to these inner energies so that you can see the origination points of where they began, and that you are no longer ruled by them. So that rare hybrid solar eclipse that happened, it was all about perception. Because what a rare hybrid solar eclipse is it just means that depending on where you're located in the world, will determine whether you see the partial eclipse or a total eclipse. So that's very similar to, just as it's up to you to choose how you will view the current experiences that are happening in your life. The current experiences that you're receiving, it's up to how you choose to view them. And that is either from a higher perspective or a limited one. So that rare hybrid solar eclipse was a mirror energetically for depending on where you're located in your mindset determines what you see. Okay, so though this may have been bringing through fears for you that you're going backwards, like the fear that, oh my God, I was feeling so good maybe you were feeling really good for the last month or 2 months, and then all of a sudden it feels like you've taken a step backwards. Well, Mercury retrograde really assists with that. Retrograde means like going backwards or going in reverse. But what was happening was actually more akin to closure. And it's like a glorious finale that's been playing out for you these last 2 weeks, so that you can see one last time what you used to be like, or who you used to be, or how you used to think or live or perceive things. And then you can 100% close the loop on that reality, thus moving you into a higher timeline. Okay. So you were and you are continuing to be challenged to respond, not react, and to do it with the trust and the faith in not only you, but also in your path. So that was all the beginning, these last 2 weeks, and how it's felt. Let's move on to the end of eclipse season. So starting, maybe in the last week, how you've been feeling, and this will continue up until, when did I say the end of eclipse season was? I think it's May 5th. Yeah, so Friday. But of course, you feel these energies for days afterwards. So you might be feeling the energy I'm about to describe, the end of eclipse season. It's already begun for you. It's probably been going on for maybe 3 or so days. And you will continue to feel this probably for at least a week. Okay, so you're going to be feeling this until next Sunday or Monday. So the end of the eclipse season now, this is the full moon lunar eclipse energy. And what is this bringing forward for us? So it's an enormous opportunity to release. We know that about the full moon, right? It's all about release, but it's the opportunity to release outdated versions of you and to fully step into your upgraded next level expression of who you are. So the key to your upgrade, okay, is in learning how to do this. The key to your upgrade is in learning how to have a part of your consciousness in the higher self observer. So almost like taking your consciousness and breaking it into 2 pieces and zooming out with this one so that it's way back here as a higher self perspective, and then leaving this other piece of consciousness in the human experience. You need to almost be in these 2 places at once. And I'm going to describe to you what that feels like, why that's important. Okay. So, so you could think about it like being the character in the movie while also being the one watching the movie. So you're watching yourself play this human character, but you're also the human character feeling and experiencing every moment. Other people like to compare it to like a video game. You're the character in the video game doing all the things, but you're the one holding the controller, like kind of like guiding that person through all the things. Again, it's a higher perspective, the observer, the divine observer, and the experiencer. So we actually do need to be in these 2 places. And I'm going to go off topic for a quick second here. So one of the signs of having a very heightened or ascended energy and consciousness is very weird. And some people think that it is a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing. It's the feeling that you are being fake, or that feeling of playing a character. So when you do this, when you're able to actually pull a part of yourself into a higher place and stay up there as the observer, there's going to be like this feeling of like life is a little, you're disconnected a little bit, like life is a little bit fake. You're playing a character, you're just playing a role because you've removed a part of yourself. That's actually not a bad thing. So if you've had that feeling, like say you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody and you have this weird out of body moment and you hear yourself continuing on with the conversation, like a part of you still humaning, but the other part of you is kind of somewhere above that, listening and looking down like, whoa. It's weird when that happens, but I just want to let you know that if you've had anything like that happen before, it's actually a sign that you've really raised your frequency in your consciousness. And that's like awakened consciousness. Okay. But it's weird. All right. So let's talk about why this is important to do. Why is it important to have a part of your consciousness in the higher self observer, but continue to keep a part of your consciousness in the human experiencer? Because I've seen a lot of people that are all in the human, or they're all up here out of the human. They're so ungrounded. You need to like balance your consciousness in both places. It's okay to bounce back and forth a little bit, but really do your best to hold those 2 anchors. So when you can do that, it does 2 important things for you. The first one is that it allows you to default to the higher perspective, no matter the situation. So no matter how chaotic things might be in your life, you're always going to be able to get to this default thinking of the higher perspective. And so this can look like you freaking out mentally for a short period of time. Something goes wrong and something doesn't go as planned, and you have a little mental freak out. But then the higher self comes chiming into your mind with supportive thoughts and answers. And that might sound like, this is actually good because I'm learning this, or I really believe this is going to work out, or it's going fine, I'm safe. In whatever way, I like to say to myself, everything is working out best case scenario. I can trust in my path. I can trust that it's all working out for me. So in whatever way your higher perspective kind of comes in to break up this downward spiral chaos freak out, that's a really good and beautiful thing. And that's why we want to have a part of our consciousness and ourselves in that focal point of the higher self. Okay. The other thing that it does is if you have a piece of yourself deeply embedded in the human experience, then it allows you to feel your feelings instead of bypassing, because you came here to learn through experiencing. You came here to go through that experience because that is how you learn. And it will keep you very grounded, very real, very relatable, and very authentic. And so bypassing is when somebody is not in their human anymore. They're hovering above their human body, even above the crown chakra, and they are not allowing themselves to feel and experience the ups and the downs, the roller coaster of what it means to be human. That is ungrounded. That is everything's love and light. That is spiritual bypassing, truly. It's an energetic thing. It's just you're not in your body, right? And to heal yourself of that, or to fix that, is to bring at least 50% of yourself into your body. Now, it's really important. I'm actually going to be doing like a reel soon about the importance of life force in the body. It's important to have your soul in your body because your soul is your life force. And if you're one of those people that's ungrounded and hovering above the body, you will get sick. The body won't be strengthened by the life force. It'll get weak. You'll get sick, tired, drained, and you just won't be your best self, physically, So if you find that you're somebody that's always tired, or if you find that you're somebody that's always getting sick or has a weak immune system, that's something to look at first. Are you in your body? And do grounding practices in the body. Feel the life force in your body. So I always do this exercise with people if I want to do like healing. I have a quantum healing that I offer that's really powerful, but people have to be in their bodies for it to work fully. You can't be above the body. And when I start to set up a sacred space, it feels very high vibrational and very meditative, and people have a tendency to they go all the way up into their body. So I continue to bring them back into their body and remind them that they're in their body throughout that whole session by talking about the physical sensations that they should be experiencing as I'm moving through, like working through each chakra and level. So I don't know why I went off on that tangent, other than just to say that being in your body is so important, even when it comes to psychic gifts. So when I teach in my psychic light training course, you have to be in your body, like fully, to really understand the clairs, because the sensations that you receive are in the body. It's so weird. Like, people think emotions are energetic sensations, but they're physical. Every single emotion has a physical feeling in your body that correlates to it. A heavy heart, a sick stomach, something. There's a physical sensation for everything, and it really helps you to be a good energy reader when you at least bring that half of yourself, that 50% of your consciousness, into the body. So for every single clair, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, for all of those, it's important to be in the body to feel them, especially clairsentience. That's a clear feeling. You can't really use that unless you're in your body. So anyway, All right, so that was all about the two important things that happen when you have a part of yourself, a part of your consciousness in the higher self observer and a part in the human experiencer. So that's a goal. That's something that you can make a goal for yourself, and that's something that you can check in with often. The higher perspective has been extremely helpful for me because I tend to suffer from, well, I have PTSD. Actually, I've learned recently it's CPTSD, but so I have that, and then I also had like an anxiety disorder that I have healed this, and I really feel like I've healed the PTSD as well. But the way that I heal that is with the higher perspective. So if you're somebody that suffers with racing thoughts, anxiety, panic attacks, anything like that, you need to pull out. You need to zoom out of your mental cognitive energy and get that higher perspective, that higher self voice that can come in and be like, shh, no, stop this like cycle. Everything is working out. Everything is working out, best case scenario. So it's really helped me a lot. Okay, so again, just finishing up talking about eclipse season. So eclipse seasons are extremely potent, extremely potent. They create so much change in ourselves and in the world. They're meant to press us, and they can feel like a test that needs to be passed before you can launch forward into your next level. So the test is literally like life or the universe asking you, how would the highest version of you respond to this situation? And it just keeps giving you that same test over and over and over. How would your highest self respond? How would your highest self respond? By giving you all of these situations to respond to, and not react to, respond to. And when you embody that higher response, that is what evolves you into it. So it's a choice. So every time you choose what your higher self would do or say or think, and you do that thing, that's how you become them. Because becoming your higher self is just aligning to that frequency. And when you align to your higher self frequency, you align to your highest timeline. And your highest timeline is real, by the way. It's not some weird woo-woo, far-off fantasy realm. It's real. And it's like 2 steps away. It's like 1 or 2 choices away from where you are now. You align with your higher self frequency, aligns you to your highest timeline, and then you're on this escalator going upwards. And your highest timeline isn't an end. It doesn't end. It's not a destination that stops. It's a journey like an escalator that continues up and up and up. And it's okay to like weeble wobble in and out of alignment, but just continue to bring yourself back, and you'll progress. It's just people don't even think that their highest timeline is real. If you can't even believe in that, then what chance do you have of aligning to it? So start with then your highest self frequency, just by asking yourself, what would the highest version of me do in this moment? What would the highest version of me feel, say, create, whatever it is, and then just do that thing, even if it takes extra effort. And that is how you become it. And that is it. That's it. It's so simple, right? Just saying that. But it's like in every moment of your life, in every single decision, to just continue to make the same choice, the higher choice, over and over and over again. But you can do it, and no one can do it for you. Like no one can fix it. It doesn't matter how many energy healings you get. It's a choice that you have to make. Yes, energy healings can help you because that can clear away the density and really elevate your frequency, which might make it easier for you to see the choice or make the choice. But it still comes down to your will to do so. Free will. That's why we're here on Earth. Okay. That's pretty much what's happening with the eclipse season. We can talk about something different now. So we're seeing now all the testing, that energy that was happening in the eclipse, and what the final test is, what we just described, and what it gives you when you make the right choices. Okay. So eclipse seasons, super powerful and important. Okay. So Mercury retrograde now. So Mercury retrograde is like a scrambled signal that brings static into the channel. And this can create delays, frustration, misunderstandings, lots of errors, and pretty much a dominant energy of just what the fuck. And so how this is actually serving us right now is through making us slow down. in order to achieve the results we're trying to create, we need to go much more slowly and carefully. And in this case, it works alongside this eclipse season to push us to delay our reaction energy and choose that higher response. So if like you go to, there's so many examples of this, like if you go to send a message to someone that was all reactive and it won't go through, there's a reason. Stop hitting send and make a higher choice. Or like for me today, I was trying to print off a document and I literally had to print it off like 5 times to get it right. But every time I thought I had it and I was like filing it away, I'd look and see one extra little mistake. I'm like, oh, I didn't spell that right. Or, oh, that's the wrong date. And it's like, it was just like this slow down and check things over was like a really good lesson there, and waste less paper doing this. But I mean, I got there eventually, right? It's just like a Mercury retrograde feels like you're repeating yourself over and over and over, and it's a bit of a struggle to get where you're trying to get, but it's because it's slowing you down to get you into observer mode, to really help you to make the right choices. And it's heightening all of this, the feeling of I'm being tested right now. It's really heightening all of that. So having to do something slowly or more than once in order to get it right imprints the higher path more firmly into us. You know, when you make a mistake and then you're never going to make that same mistake again because you remember, it's kind of like that energy too in a way. Here's one other thing about retrograde before we move on. Retrograde is also about rewinding to your last big test or challenge. So what, over the last 3 months or so, what have you really overcome? What challenge did you face? Where have you grown the most? And then we hit Mercury retrograde and you rewind back to that and you replay it. And which again, it cements the growth you've put into becoming the new higher you, as you have to carefully make those same right choices again. Repetition creates muscle memory, spiritual memory, cognitive memory. Like when you have to repeat something, you're going to be more likely to get it right again and again in the future. So it's actually for us. Everything, even when energy is intense, it is for us. Even retrograde, it is serving you. It's just really annoying, like really annoying. Okay, so hopefully that cleared up a little bit about Mercury retrograde and how it's connected to the eclipse energies and how they're working together right now. Now, I really want to talk about one of my favorite things to talk about, which is the Schumann resonance. So the Schumann resonance amplifies. It's like the clear quartz of energy. It amplifies whatever's happening. And all of these energies right now, starting out with that new moon, solar eclipse, hitting Mercury retrograde right in the middle of eclipse season, then just about to have on Friday, just about to have our full moon lunar eclipse. All of that, during all of that, the Schumann's just been going absolutely freaking crazy. So it's amplifying everything, heightening it all. So in between, I'm going to a lot of people don't really know what the Schumann is or how it works. Just let me give you a little background information. It might help you to understand it a little bit more. So in between the surface of the Earth, so if this is the Earth, in between the surface and the ionosphere, which is basically just a fancy word for inner atmosphere, where the atmosphere begins. So between the surface of the Earth and the inner atmosphere, that space, okay? That's where it happens. It's a cavity, a space that contains vertical electrical charges. So they're vertical, going up and down. Lightning can intensify those charges, and scientists have, I think they found that out in like the 30s or something, like they've known that for a while. But solar flares accompanied with solar winds is the real intensifier. It's like the biggest magnifier of the Schumann resonance. So this charge that's happening in that space, in that cavity, they call it, this charge affects all life upon Earth. That's the humans, plants, animals, the planet herself. Studies have shown that the Schumann can impact our nervous system. Like, oh my God, that's so huge. Our nervous system is our mindset, our ability to feel safe and at peace, our thinking patterns. Like, it's like the most important thing to heal. I've definitely learned that in the last year. it affects that. So the Schumann resonance and the spikes and the amplification, it is affecting our nervous system, our cognitive functions, even our heart rate, and even creating synchronization between people. So they did, I was researching this, and they did a study that showed that people's nervous systems got into sync with each other if they were subjected to the same Schumann, which has got another word that they were using for it, GMT force or something like that, but essentially it was the Schumann. Okay, and you can look all of this up. Basically, it's raising our vibrational frequency simultaneously. So everything on Earth, again, humans, plants, animals, the planet herself, simultaneously raising the vibrational frequency, which affects our physical selves, mental selves, and spiritual selves, and even our nervous system, which I think is kind of all of those things. So in short, it can affect the collective consciousness. What is the collective consciousness? That is it's all of humanity. So the collective consciousness is the consciousness of humanity. If you put it all together, what would the average be, right? So if you took, how many people are in the world? 9 billion, it's probably more, like 9 billion people, and you looked at all the different consciousness. So they're at this level of frequency for they're in the love 500 hertz frequency of consciousness, the 5D consciousness, they're in the 4D, they're in the 3D, and all the places in between, and maybe somebody's in the 6D or 2D. I mean, there's all kinds, right? If you took all of that and added it together, and then how do you find average again? I'm like the worst person at math. Divided that by the amount of people, I think, then you should come up with an average number. The collective consciousness of humanity is the average of the consciousness from everybody as a whole. Okay, so it's not individuals. When you talk about it like that, the collective means the average. And it's usually majority rules in these kinds of cases when it comes to a collective. So the Schumann resonance is affecting the collective conscious vibrational frequency by raising it. This is a part of ascension. This is beautiful. And this is how, like, the natural elements and Gaia and the sun, because of the solar flares, are all helping us, working with us. Now, many people believe that the planet is a sentient and intelligent being. I am one of those people that believes that she is a soul. I believe that all planets have a soul deep at the core, like we have a soul deep at our core. And it is what brings the life force to, or animates that thing. Our souls animate our physical human form. Gaia's soul animates and brings the life force and the ability to create life and all of those things in the planet. Now, if you want to go one step further, many people, especially the Lyrans, believe that the sun is a sentient being and a soul that has a great consciousness and is benevolent and bringing love and health and life force. And if you think about what the sun does, it does encourage life to grow. And so if this was true, and these two beautiful beings, what if they were like our parent beings, the sun being maybe like a masculine energy and Gaia being that feminine energy, and they were working together by shooting down the solar flares, and Gaia using her baseline. Gaia's heartbeat is a baseline Schumann of 7.83 hertz. She sends that upwards, the sun sends its flares down, and where they meet in that cavity between the surface of the planet and the beginning of the atmosphere, the ionosphere, there is where their energy mixes together and creates a charged electrical force of higher frequency vibrations, which surrounds the planet and seeps into every single person, every single piece of life, planet, animal, everything. And if they were sentient beings and they were doing that consciously, like on purpose to help us, then it just makes it really beautiful. And it takes like the coldness or the distant feeling out of it. As like, oh, solar flares, whoa, no, there's something to be afraid of or whatever. It's like, no, what if it's a beautiful, like, godlike being like, here you go, I'll slowly increase the pressure. I'll slowly increase the frequency. And then Gaia says, me too, let's go slowly together. And then we start to build, build, build. Doesn't mean that it's not hard. It doesn't mean that there's not ascension symptoms, but it has been gradual. It has. And I think it's coming from loving beings. It's just a different way to look at it. So you can let me know what you think about that in the comments, but I think it's beautiful. Okay, a little bit more about Schumann. Okay, so in short, it does affect the collective consciousness simultaneously. But here's something really to think about. But new studies are beginning to show that it can be affected by the collective consciousness. So yes, it affects the collective consciousness, but what if it can be affected by the collective consciousness? Which is like asking ourselves, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because are the Schumann spikes raising our consciousness, or is our rising consciousness causing it to spike? Maybe it's both. Maybe they are working together. And all of us awakened souls and light workers that have been inserted here into humanity to like work through the system are participating as well. So now we've got the sun helping us, we've got Gaia helping us, and we've got these beautiful like candle flames around the world of awakened light workers sending in their high frequencies, and they all mix together in this cavity of energy where it all mixes up and creates something very real that affects everyone simultaneously. It's like a blanket of ascension to cover the world. And we're snuggling ourselves, the whole world and everything up in a high frequency blanket. Of course, that's going to help, right? It's so beautiful. Okay, so the normal resting rate of the Schumann or Earth's heartbeat, the normal resting rate is 7.83 hertz. So how do we get to like hertz? Because it's pretty complicated. It's charge plus the current plus the voltage or something like that. You can Google it. I don't know. Some people like to call it amperes, and they say it's not hertz, it's amps, 7.83 amps. But I've seen mostly people calling it hertz if you Google it at all. But just so you know, you might see people calling it amps and you might see some people calling it hertz, but I don't understand the whole mathematical equation. When it comes to electricity, it's actually pretty complicated. So there's lots of different measurements of electricity, but one of them is a charge, one is a current, the amount that can flow, and one is the voltage. And so I don't know, all of that somehow creates hertz. But basically, during eclipse season, we've seen, okay, so the normal is 7.83, and then they've measured it going up to 33. This was a study done up until like I think it was like 2018 or something, that like the highest that it was going was like 33, and that was such a big deal. Well, during eclipse season, of course, we saw it hit 85. 85. If 7.83 is the norm, and we're always kind of like under 10. And then really the highest it ever really was hitting up until like 20, I think it was 16 or 18, was like 33. Now we're hitting things like 85. So this made me want to go deeper into study, which was really hard to find. What is the highest record-breaking Schumann spike? I couldn't really find a whole lot of details on that except one article. One article said, and this is something just to note, between March of 2019 and December of 2019, it hit upwards of 158 hertz pretty often. It was hitting 100, 120, and it was building. You saw it was building towards something. There is an intention happening. It was like around March time, like, you know, the 100s, then maybe a month later, 120s, 130s, 140s. It got all the way up to 158 that year. So that was that high of 158. It was so high that there were strange atmospheric sounds happening, like 80 meters above the surface of the earth. They were called auroral crackling, and they were the sounds from the electric charge being so powerful in that cavity of the inner atmosphere that people could hear it. How creepy is that? And people were creeped out by that, but it's not a bad thing, and it's not creepy. It's just like crazy. So again, think about, we ended 2019 out with like 158 hertz, like around the end of 2019, okay? That was the end of 2019, which brought in the year 2020 that changed the entire world. So this is all connected. It absolutely is. Think about 2020, March of 2020. The whole world shut down, everything changed, and it hasn't been the same since, has it? And we were hitting these 158s the just right before that, just ending 2019 in December. Only a few months later, look what happened. So it absolutely creates massive change in consciousness. And when consciousness rises quickly like that, there's the purge effect, right? And this is the same for your body. If you start to raise your frequency, a lot of the people that I work with, especially in Starseed CEO, the business mentorship, they start to raise their frequency so quickly in working with me and in taking action. That really, really raises your frequency. I really encourage them to take action on the things that we talk about. And now this has to do with business, but it's personal because it's not just business. When I work with somebody, it's your earth mission, your soul purpose, your reason for being on earth at all. So it's extremely personal. So they're working with me to tackle that, taking action, and it starts to change them. And it starts to evolve them into their highest self. And they experience the purge effect, which is what we saw in 2020 in the world, where all of the things, all the secrets come to light, all of the things, like your thinking patterns, your bad habits, your vices that are not good for you and can't support that higher self have to go. And they start purging up and flaring up. And on a personal level, that can look like physical symptoms, getting sick, things in your life breaking down, relationships falling apart, really like having like a rock bottom moment where where it shakes you up and you start to change, like especially when it comes to things like addiction or our unhealthy toxic mindset. Having like a bit of a rock bottom moment is that purge, and then you build from there, but you have to have that moment. Well, the earth is having her rock bottom moment, or maybe already did, like a dark night of the soul. Definitely started in 2020 because of that rising frequency and those huge, massive spikes that happened in 2019. We had a purge effect happen, and all of the corruption and all of the darkness and the disgrace started coming to the surface and freaking everybody out and trying to make a play for control and all the things that have been happening over the last few years. So again, it's just all so connected, and it's microcosm within yourself when it happens versus macrocosm when you see it on a global scale happening, but it's the same energy. Okay. That's all I have for you today. I hope that this was really helpful and really explained a lot about the eclipse, the Mercury retrograde, the Schumann spikes. Maybe is it describing something going on in your body or in your life or both. And I want to encourage you once again, sign up for the energy reports. I'll send you like a easy to read kind of copy of everything that we covered today, just to have on hand for your own. Maybe you can look back on it, or because this is going to be going on at least another week, use it for a reference guide. And then also, just to be on that list to receive the weekly energy reports, which again is free. Oh my gosh, I put so much effort into those, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I often do really in-depth, yearly readings, predictions, so much. Okay, so sign up for that. Okay, thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And please remember to subscribe before you leave. Come follow me over on Instagram for more original content, Starseed Academy. And think about joining the membership group if you feel connected to those ancient civilizations. This is the month. If you feel called by Egypt or Lemuria or Atlantis, this is the month, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Okay, awesome. And just before we go, I want to remind you, as always, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. Thank you, beautiful star seeds. Have a great day.